What is going on, YouTube world and all who inhabit it? It is Friday night, which means it's time to do something that I never thought I would do and film a video about a movie review. Now, I never thought I would do a movie review because, to be honest, there's very few movies that I'm actually into. Movies are either, to me, they're either good or bad, and, you know, not much past that. But I watched a movie last night that was just so bizarre and uh, mind blowing that I couldn't help myself. But before I get into that, let me set the story for how this movie came in my possession. So last night I was hanging out with a buddy, and we came in contact with my buddy's cousin who regularly hangs out with us. And we were looking for something to do, and we had the bright idea that we would watch a movie, have just a guys' night. Nothing spectacular, basic stuff that we normally do. But we had the idea that we would go to Walmart and pick a movie. Just buy the first thing that came to us and just sit down and watch it regardless of if it was good or bad. So we went to Walmart and we got, the typical popcorn and candy stuff. Well, actually, it was Chex. So we got pop and Chex and popcorn and stuff. And we were picking the movie, and we came down to three different choices. I voted for Dracula Untold because I'm really into Dracula and stuff like that. So it was something, I wanted to see it. My buddy picked uh, Rise of the Planet of the Apes slash Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or Godzilla, which we didn't pick because me and my buddy's cousin had already seen both of them, so we're like, nah, we want to pick something we haven't seen. So it basically was, the three movies in the running were my pick of Dracula, um, my friend's pick of Godzilla, and my friend's cousin's pick of a movie called Gone Girl. Now, I vaguely heard something about this movie, but not enough to say, oh yeah, I want to see that. And I really had no idea what it was about. And by the title of it, without reading anything about it, it sounds like a total chick flick. So at first, I was really against it because I was like, dude, you know how ridiculous we're gonna look walking out of here, three guys with a bunch of movie night crap with a chick flick like that. And he's like, I know, but it sounds interesting and I've been wanting to see it. So long story short, I caved and said, it was my decision between those three movies, and I caved and I was like, you know what, whatever, you know, if it's a girly movie and I cry at the end, we're not gonna tell anybody. But okay, so we get we get home to my house and we put the movie in and we're watching it. And first thing I want to say is it is not a chick flick at all. Basically, what it is, it's a, for those of you that know what I'm talking about, you guys already know probably how weird and twisted this movie is. But it's a movie starring Ben Affleck and Tyler Perry, and I don't know who the chick in the movie was, but basically, anyway, she's in the girl, the main girl in the movie was an author, and her husband's a writer too, but he wasn't really doing anything, and he's also a college professor. And so she has his wife has this successful writing career, has children's books by the I think it's the Amazing Amy series. Her name is Amy, and it's just you know. But she comes to find that because uh, you know, her husband wasn't happy with the marriage and some stuff had happened and whatever, and he just wasn't happy. So he kind of got involved with one of his college students and ended up cheating on his wife and whatever. You know how that goes. So, and then, he goes, his sister, the main guy's sister, Ben Affleck's character, um, and his sister own a bar. So he goes to the bar, visits with his sister, and they've got the typical brother-sister closeness, but they give each other crap relationship. And he goes back and finds his wife is missing. There's signs of a struggle. Basically, it looked like somebody had broken into the house and, roughed his place up. And his wife is missing. So he calls the cops, he gets questioned and whatever. And, I think the way it was supposed to go was it was supposed to make him look like he didn't, knowing that he didn't like his wife much anymore, with the marriage and stuff. It made him look really fishy because he honestly didn't know anything. Like, he came home, she wasn't there, he was completely not to blame. But, watching it, we're not entirely sure because he's just acting really spacey and really suspicious. And, my first reaction was something's up. This guy's really weird. And later on, you find out that he was having an affair with one of his students. So I pinned it on the guy and said, calling it early, that guy has something to do with it. Well, things happen. And basically, this is where it gets weird. Up to this point, it is a regular, suspenseful mystery of where's his wife. This is where it gets weird. This is where every ounce of normal movie and normal story leaves the premises, and it just gets mind-blowing. It's scary. And I say that because basically his wife is too smart for her own good. So she plots out for like a year her own death. Like she was like, okay, for people to believe me, I need to have a journal of just daily events for 300 entries of this relationship is going really good, and it progressively gets worse to the point where she says that he's beating on her and just treating her really bad. So it basically set the husband up to look like he had done something to her, and she just set him up basically to receive the death penalty for her murder, which she didn't commit. Mind you, she's still completely 100% alive, but it's just the twisted and the demented part of the movie was all the things that she planned out. Like, I don't even know where to begin. There's just this, her character was just so freaking mentally unstable. It scared me, because it's like, I know crazy women, and this lady proved that there can be not just females, but there's crazy people like her out there, and that fact is incredibly scary. For example, she uh, basically she the crime scene that he finds, um, she sets up, flips furniture over, makes it look like there was uh, like some like blunt force trauma, like huge blood splatter on the floor, and basically what she did was she bled herself out all over the floor. Like, she literally stuck a needle in her arm and drained her blood onto the floor to make it look like something had happened. And then she stole a pregnant woman's pee to make it look like she was pregnant, so then she could say I was pregnant, and because he didn't want the baby, he beat me and all that stuff. So she fakes a pregnancy and just does all these snowballing things to make it look worse for the husband. That's completely 100% innocent, other than his infidelity. But basically, her plan is to fake her death and run away and start a new life and just forget about it, and have her husband face the death penalty for the murder he didn't commit. Um, but the sickest part is that she had everything that she was gonna do on a calendar, from faking the pregnancy to, um, killing herself. It was like date by date what she was gonna do in this plan, and she just used and abused people over the course of a year to set this plan in motion. And mind you, the husband's none the wiser, which, makes it perfect. But she just covered all her steps. So, sociopathically, it was just crazy. But basically, while, the search party for her is I don't even remember how many days she was gone. I think it was like a week or something like that. I could be wrong. But basically, while the search party is going and shit hits the fan for the husband, things just go from bad to worse for him. And while that's happening, she is off, starting a new life. She takes her new name of Nancy, so she goes from Amy to Nancy, and she just starts completely over. And because this lady would do anything for the course of this plan, and I say that, and as an example of that, like, because she was a famous author and everybody knew her and whatever, and she was trying to get away, she went as far as to reshape her cheekbones, like the structure of her face. And I don't mean by plastic surgery. I mean she literally stood in front of a bathroom mirror with a hammer and bashed her face to like break and readjust her cheekbones, and just weird. Like, yeah, just like I knew she was standing in front of this mirror and she was measuring herself up, and I looked at my friend's cousin and I was like, there's no way she's going to do what I think she's going to do. And then she just cracked herself a couple good times in the face, and I was like, oh my god. But basically, what happens after that is that she becomes friends with her neighbors, who are absolute hicks and whatever. And she slips up and indicates that she has money. So because they're poor, she basically gets robbed by her neighbors. So her escape plan is completely gone. Her plan A is just ruined because she's broke now. So she's like, what am I gonna do? And as that's happening, what's happening is her husband and his sister are finding out that she's still alive and the entire thing is set up. So with the help of a lawyer and whatever, they get her attention, you know, inadvertently. They don't like call her out and be like, hey, I know you're alive. But they just, her husband, through an interview, kind of tells her everything he knew that she would want to hear, enough to resurface and be like, I love you and all that stuff. So he does this thing and she sees it and is like, time to go back, for whatever reason. So basically what she does as a result, the catalyst of this, is that she has a very obsessive ex-boyfriend that's like completely in love with her. So she, who also happens to be a close confidant of hers. So they end up shacked up and living together, and of course the guy's excited because he's been in love with her for 20 years or whatever, so he's just completely under her spell, and she's got an ulterior motive. So while sitting in his house, she sees this interview, and she's like, okay, plan B. So basically, this is just how sick and demented Amy is that she had the plan to basically use this guy that's loved her for this long as a plan B. And the way she did that was, okay, she said, her husband was such a bad guy and she was afraid for her life and really, really convinced that this obsessive friend of hers that this was really, she was scared and she was looking to start over and whatever. And of course, like a good guy, he was like, I'll keep you safe, there's cameras all around the perimeter. And as soon as he said that, could see the wheels start turning. And when this lady's wheels start turning, scary stuff happens. Okay, he goes to leave for work one morning. They start making out, getting all hot and heavy. She bites him on the lip, so his lip's all busted open, and untucks his shirt. Just whatever. While on the camera, there's a camera right outside the front door, so he comes out. He's got a busted lip, so he's wiping it off and whatever. And he's tucking in his shirt. Well, while he's going to work or whatever, she's binding crap around her wrists to make it look like she was bound to whatever. She tied something to her foot to make it look like her feet were tied. She rubbed red wine all over her crotch to make it look like stuff was going down. And there was a camera right outside the screen door. So basically what she did was she crawled to the camera and was banging on the door. She crawled as if she was escaping from something, like she had just, been starved for whatever and very vigorously sexually assaulted. And she crawls to where the camera can see her and she's banging on the screen door and whatever and just sets this guy up to make it look like he had raped her. But as bad as that was, she wasn't done yet because she still needed to get semen samples to top it off. So she waits for him to come home and she tricks him into bed and they start doing it. And just as he's at that moment that every guy craps out their brain at the moment of climax. She reaches under the pillow, grabs a box cutter, and cuts his throat. And he bleeds all over her. Like, she from head to toe is covered in his blood, and she just leaves him there. And now, as messed up as the entire movie is, now comes the worst part of the entire thing. Basically, she goes to the hospital. They're like, she's been raped. Um, you know, all this kind of stuff. And she's like, okay, do you feel safe to go? And of course, her husband is there. And she's like, okay, do you feel safe to go with your husband? And she's like, yes, I do. So basically, she comes home. And basically her story is, instead of, basically what had happened was this crazy ex-boyfriend that was obsessed with me came to our house, took me, and then tied me up, starved me, raped me, all that kind of screwed up stuff. So basically, they are now two people that know they don't like each other, and know that, you know, the husband knows she's nuts and all this kind of stuff. So they know about each other. But they live in the same house. So she spends nights there trying to trick him into bed and whatever. And just being creepy and psychotic. And the husband was finally said, you know what, I'm going to leave you. And she basically said, you're not going anywhere. And really, as far as leaving, there was nothing he could do, because I mean, throughout the movie, for what he had to do to get the news and whatever on his side, there he was stuck. There was no way out of it, and even his lawyer said, just do everything you can to not piss her off. So there's this. It's just weird. Probably the weirdest, most psychotic part was that he decided he wanted to stay with her, because him and his sister have a conversation, and she's like, "Oh my God, you want to stay with her, don't you?" And he kind of indicates that he does. So basically, the last scene was of them cuddling, and in a narrative way, he basically says a couple things, and the last thing he says was, "What are we gonna do to each other next?" And she, looks up at him with piercing, crazy blue eyes, and that's the end of the movie. So basically, we were left trying to decide who was crazier. The crazy bitch that did all this for the sake of revenge on her cheating husband, or the husband that chose to stay with her, regardless of her almost getting him executed for her murder. And it was just the most bizarre movie I have ever seen. It was completely different from anything that I ever thought it could be by the title. And my review of the psychotic parts do not do it justice. I still say that the best way you could get an idea, if you haven't seen it already, the best way that you could get an idea of just how crazy this woman is and all the bizarre plot things that go on, you just have to see it for yourself. Not that it matters, but I'm going to put a little disclaimer in here, and say that it is rated R for nudity and lots of F-bombs. So it's not one for kids, definitely not. But I definitely think it's it's such a complete mind messer upper. I was gonna say, mind f, for lack of a better term, and I'm not gonna say that because you never know who's gonna end up watching this. I don't want to get flagged or get a bunch of angry emails, but it is a complete, like, it basically taught me not to cheat, is what it did. And I have never cheated in my life, and I never would. But if cheating caused her to do everything she did, like, I have a new fear of women purely because of that crazy bitch. I'm sorry, but, like, as a guy, like, it is not a movie that you wouldn't want to watch with your significant other. It is not a romantic Valentine's Day movie because it would make you literally look over your shoulder. Like, both of you. Like, you'd be looking at your shoulder, and it really made you just, if you want to break up with somebody, that's the movie you watch. And then, see what happens. And if you end up getting your throat cut with a box cutter, during sex or whatever, that's what happens. But it's definitely not. It's not a date night movie. Um, Even if you're married, I don't think anybody's safe from getting ideas in their head. Um, but yeah, anyway, it is rated R for various things. So yeah, don't let your kids watch it. Don't watch it with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Definitely not. But I think it is something worth checking out. And for me to say that, because like I said, I'm a very hard movie critic. I don't watch a lot of movies because I just don't care. Really, I mean, there's very few movies that perk my interest, especially a movie with a name like Gone Girl. But this movie definitely had me on the edge of my seat, and it was just a good movie, besides the fear that it installed in me, in the utter mind explosion it caused. It was a good movie, so I recommend that if you like that kind of thing, or you just want to understand uh, all the crazy sociopathic things that happen in the movie. It needs to be a first-hand experience because I don't do it nearly enough justice for how crazy this movie is. So, yeah, check it out. I found it at Walmart. I'm sure any place they sell DVDs, you're gonna find it. It's Gone Girl. Uh, yeah, but the only thing I can say is check it out. Um, and I'm not responsible for anything that happens after that. So, without further ado, I think that's gonna wrap this video up. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.